Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa A Natter. I do these twice a month on a Monday. I love to bring authors into my home. We talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And this evening, Sean Bridges is joining me all the way from Texas. How are you this evening, sir?
Very nice. Happy St. Patty's Day. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. And I am half Irish. I'm not wearing green. You are.
I
So
am.
shame on me. I should be wearing my green, but I appreciate your time on this great holiday. But I love your background. And I
I know
remember,
it does look like I'm in a rustic cabin. I'm literally broadcasting from where I work. I work at a whiskey distillery in the hill country of Texas. We do whiskey, brandy, and rum. So I've been bartending all day. And the podcast started literally when my shift ended. So I'm doing my first podcast talking about my work at my work distillery where I work. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a great place to come and sample Texas whiskey.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of anything rustic. So when I saw your background, I'm like, I gotta ask where he is. I really do.
Well, and I've been pouring drinks and whiskey and talking to people all day, so it this kind of goes right into that. So it's nice.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. We have some people joining us, but before we get started talking about your book and your career, can
Mhm.
you just give us a little background on yourself, whatever you want to share?
I was born in Germany. I was born in a military family, so I moved around all my life. I went to college in Heidelberg, Germany, or Munich and Heidelberg. I graduated in Heidelberg, Germany. Um, Wann ich mehr Bier trinken, dann ich ein besser Deutsch
Oh
sprechen.
my
The German's
goodness.
in my head. I just need a couple of beers for it to come out, and it comes right out. I found my way to Texas in 1999. I was working for IBM, and basically fell in love with Central Texas in Austin, San Antonio, and the Hill Country is where I'm at. And this was the first place I've ever lived that felt home to me. So I love it out here. I've got border collies, and my family's all out here, and it's just a nice place to be. I do creative projects I write novels, I do audio productions, screenwriting, different things, all types of different things we can talk about. But yeah, I kind of see myself as a bit of a nomad, I guess.
You're a busy man. You're a busy man. The book that I wanted to talk about with you is one of them is The Gun Barrel Highway.
Gun Barrel Highway, it was my first professionally published novel. So I had written a couple books beforehand and went the self-publishing route. But that was honestly like pushing a wooden cart through Manhattan or Los Angeles trying to generate interest. And I decided on this manuscript that I would see what I could do to connect with a literary agent or a publisher. And my background is screenwriting. I started out writing screenplays and then won some awards. And I hit an award with the Nicholl Fellowship, which is sponsored by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. So that cracked the gates of Hollywood open for me. I went out for meetings. I was represented by CAA. So I did a number of things in that world, and have always kind of found my way into different things. I like to get work out to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just tried to see if I can write a novel. Gun Barrel Highway is my fourth novel, first professionally published. It's a Texas thriller, kind of in the vein of an Elmore Leonard novel. I've always been a big fan of his work. And nobody's, good, bad, or good guys or bad guys. Everybody's a shade of gray. It's a character-driven piece. I've been seeing the reviews. It just came out November 20th, and the reviews have been very positive, and people are really seeming to spark to it. And I'm very happy with it.
Congratulations! So this will be your debut, first published novel. It's a debut.
As an author, yeah, as a professional author, yeah. I connected with a publisher out of New York, and that whole process was fascinating. I had never really worked with professional editors before. I always wanted to, and this was the first time. I mean, I would edit and clean up my work as best I could, but sending it off to an editor was a huge eye opener about what they really can do to make your work even that much better. I think I would tell any person who's trying to write a book or a manuscript, it is so worth investing money and time working with an editor. Mm-hmm. And then once the publisher took me on, once I signed a contract, it still took a year for the book to actually come out. So I think I signed it in October 2023. The book came out November 2024. So it's a long, arduous process, but it was so much fun. And I've already shipped my second manuscript off to the publisher. In fact, I just got a note from my senior editor today saying she can't wait to read it, and hopefully this will be my second book with them. So,
congratulations! Give us a little insight onto your journey of querying your book. A lot of authors say it was really difficult. Some had it easy as pie. Just give us a little insight on when you sat
It,
down and started querying for your book.
yeah, it is. It is like fishing. I mean, my best, because I had done some of this with screenwriting, but querying really you're down to a page. Honestly, less than half a page. Really, the least amount of words you have, maybe 10 seconds to catch somebody's interest, and they move on. So you really cannot send arduous, long, dense, thick paragraphs of work. Literally, you have to be able to sum up your idea in 1 or 2 sentences. You have to be able to catch their interest in seconds, and passing. It really isn't a personal thing. It could be it's not a fit for that particular agent or that particular, or they don't, they're not taking representation, they're not taking new novels on. But I found a site, Query Tracker, I think it was online, that at least enabled me to keep tabs on everybody that I was querying. I tried to connect with a literary agent because I'd worked with Hollywood agents before, and honestly got nowhere. And then I started looking at publishing houses, direct publishing houses, and reached a publisher out of New York called the Wild Rose Press, and they liked the idea and said it needs an edit. And I said, yeah, I'm totally open to that.
Right.
So she connected me to an editor, a freelance editor, that honestly, I think the freelance editor was stressed and she had a lot going on, and I was very patient and just was like, it's fine, we'll go at your pace. I don't like pushing creative people to deadlines. I mean, we'll work with whatever works for you. I'm willing to work with that. And honestly, I think because of our relationship, she contacted the editor at the publishing house and said, really take a look at this guy. And that's what got me in. So I queried for a good, maybe 4 or 5 months. Honestly, my hit miss record was 0.2 hits compared to all these misses. I mean, I could stack them up with all the rejections I got. Querying, honestly, it's just one of those things you do, and you're fortunate enough to get a bite. And when you get a bite, you just, and follow their rules of who you query, how you query. I've never been a fan of shotgunning query, like a blank, to whom it may concern query letter out. I'll take my time, look at the publishing house. Will my work fit here? Are they even looking for, in my case, suspense thrillers? You need to do research.
You do.
They can pick up on that real fast if you don't. If you're just shooting a shotgun in the air hoping to hit somebody, chances are you're not going to hit anything.
Yeah, you have to make it personal. You have to show your research that you've looked into their company, seen what they published, and I mean, common sense is you query to your genre.
Yeah.
You're not going to query to a genre that doesn't print your
well,
book.
And this Query Tracker site online, I paid, I think, $80 or something for a year subscription, and it at least enabled me to okay, I was a suspense thriller, so it narrowed down what companies our agents were even looking for that, and then who was open to queries, how different people at the agency. If you queried one and they rejected it, it would pretty much knock you out of play at that particular publishing house. And I was coming at this thinking, well, my LA background would help, and it didn't. It was like snow skiing and water skiing. They sound the same, but they're two completely different things. So I was starting at zero and kind of had to learn. And my creative life has always been trial and error, try to figure it out, how to make this, in LA, it was the dream factory. I never focused on the dream so much as the factory aspect of it. There's a way to do this. There's a proper way to do this. And honestly, following people's, this is how I want to be queried, or we're not accepting queries. I've never been a fan of kind of pushing my way through. I try to see what they want and figure it out and then cater it to them. And if they're not interested, I move on, No is, I can so live with no. Maybe is the worst thing in the world. No is fine with me. I've heard no.
Well, at least you get, you've got an ending. No is no. There's no hanging you by a string.
Yes, freaked me out. It took me a while to go. I just kept waiting for yeah, but, or we're just screwing with you. I just really had this, I think hearing yes for the first time was like, really? And then it was like, when they offered me the contract, it was surreal. It was like, wow, I'm a professionally published writer. And, and now watching the book go to reviews and people, it just went on a Texas book tour that was really, the reviews were very positive, and it feels exciting. It's nice to get this one out there. Yeah.
Congratulations. And there's, when you query, authors have to grow a tough skin.
Yeah.
Don't take all the rejections personally. I mean, like you said, it only takes one person to accept that book. Just
Oh,
one.
and I've heard. I mean, the stack of rejections that I have
Yeah.
is a huge amount. Like I've lost track. I never kept track. It's you
But
just
you
can't.
hung in there. You hung in
Yeah,
there.
and
You
that's
built
really
that skin.
persistence and patience and luck and timing and talent and connections. I think all this is a gumbo for success. I don't know what the actual ingredient amount is for each one of those, but I think if you're missing any of them, you're not going to make it. And that's really what you have to kind of focus on. And
Yeah.
I've always been a big proponent of that, no matter if it was through Hollywood or the publishing world in New York or audio productions or anything,
Yeah, right. Well done, well done. I do want to pause for a minute and say a howdy to our readers that are watching us, and I've seen some
Here's
questions
everybody.
pop up. So I want to just get some of those questions out too. But we have Karen joining us. She says hi.
Hey,
And another Karen says hello.
happy
Virgie is here. She says hello, Tina and Sean. But I just like to involve them in our chat. We
No,
have,
I love that.
yep, Hillary says hello. And I'm
Hi,
trying to
everyone.
get, and then, okay, Karen says, you're also happy to see you. I'm trying to get to the questions. Hold on one second. I'm getting there. Okay, here's one from Karen. She's asking, what inspired you to write?
My father's a painter, and I can't draw anything. I think I just was always fascinated. I like drawing. I draw with words, I guess, is how I look at it. It was something I was going back to. I mean, I came from an international business and marketing background. That was my degree in college in Germany, and then it was, I was corporate for most of my life. But I would try these things on the side, like, can I write a screenplay? Well, why? How the hell? How do you do that? And then learning how to do that, and then trying, and then reject, and then discovering, well, I lived in the middle of nowhere. Maybe competitions were a good way to kind of, even that playing field a little bit. And then I started hitting competitions with my work. It's something I continue to do. I don't seem to run out of ideas, or I'm not bored of it. It still excites me just as much as it always has. So I think I will continue to write. Different things inspire me to write. I mean, I tended to jump around genres. The suspense thrillers are my bread and butter. I just like that genre. I like page turners. But I've written, for screenplays, I mean, family dramas, a werewolf western, a time travel adventure, a ghost story, just different types of genres I tend to like to play. But suspense thrillers are my bread and butter. I think I'll always go back to that world. And this was actually a rejected, like it was an abandoned screenplay I'd written ages ago that didn't work. With the first part I really liked, the second part didn't go anywhere, and the third part was a disaster. So I just shelved it. And I was stripping things I was looking for things, and I picked up this old manuscript, and I thought, there's something here. And I basically stripped it for parts and realized I think I have a story here that's much deeper than a screenplay, much broader than a script. And had so much fun kind of diving into this world and expanding this basic idea I had. So this little acorn of an abandoned script became my first published book. So also, you never know what work will go
You
places.
never know. That's very true. Now, when it comes to writing your book, for example, Gun Barrel Highway, a lot of authors are asked, are you a pantser or a plotter? Do you plot your books, or do you just sit down and does it all just come to you as you're writing?
I'm a firm believer that if you create believable characters, if your characters are realistic, the audience will go anywhere you want to take them. Your plot can be as far-fetched as you can imagine if they believe the characters. And so I tend to be very character driven, and I like real people. I work in a bar. I like to talk to people.
Right.
I find that fascinating. I find people fascinating. I literally have a book next to me when I'm working, and I'll jot crazy things I say. And I never may use them, but just like weird little sentences somebody will say or something, just pick things out of the air. But yeah, I think I'm more of a character driven piece, and the plot is always exciting, but it's not really what's moving me forward. It's the characters involved in that plot. I mean,
and the characters lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, the Gun Barrel Highway is an everyday man in an extraordinary situation, and that is something I've found that I've gone to that kind of basic plot structure of one bad day kind of thing, that what's going to happen if and the stakes keep increasing and increasing, and he's spiraling downwards, and can he get himself out of this? And then he connects with other characters, and then the character that's chasing him, can she track him down? And it was just it was a fun character driven piece to write, honestly. And
it sounds intriguing.
Lean, tight. I just wanted it to be a page turner. I didn't really follow any specific rule other than, will the reader want to keep turning the page? And the vibe I'm getting from the reviews is, yeah, people really are responding to this.
When you were writing this book, did you know early on how it was going to end, or did you just let it unfold as you were writing?
I honestly, I had no idea. I'd like to say, I had plotted that out. I tend to, even my outlines, honestly, are front loaded, where I have a clear way of how things are going to start. But what I like is when I'm in the heat, the story will kind of take its own life and kind of carry you along. And I don't tend to set up walls or lanes where it has to end like this. I didn't see this ending coming, and I found that fascinating, actually.
Yeah, that's a good rule. That's how I like to write. And then still with your writing and your characters, Karen would like to know, do your characters talk to you?
Oh, yeah. How
about in the middle of the night?
No, well, there's a Texas writer named Joe Lansdale, and he'll go to some places that are dark. And what he kind of taught me was, you can't have a censor button, and characters may be the worst people in the world. You wouldn't want anything to do with them, but to that person, he or she, they're fine. So you have to sometimes go to places you don't really want to go, but your characters are kind of like, this is where we're going, so you got to go along with them. That's always fascinated me. Characters will hang around. There's a character in this book that people are asking, like, ooh, I'd love to see her in other things. And I find that fascinating, where I'm starting now to think, her name is Roya Navarro, and she's kind of a detective that is on the hunt for this guy that's on the run. Basically, it's a lawyer that gets involved in a car crash, and the person in the other car is the wife of a politician, a sleazy Texas politician, and he uses that and puts a bounty on the guy's head. So he's on the run. And if you know anything about Texas, it's kind of a gun crazy state. And so people are out to get him, bounty hunters and people and journalists. And pretty much this guy is on the run. And there's a detective who's really trying to steer away from the vigilante side of this and track him down. But I'm finding that people really liked her and liked that character. And I'm already starting to think of more stories with her, because she was so much fun to write. And I enjoyed hanging out with her, that I want to see some more of her.
That'll be awesome, because one of my questions is going to be, is this a standalone or will it be a series? And I think
this book is a standalone, but I think Roya Navarro is going to pop up in other things. I'm already thinking of a short story for it. I'm talking to local police officers that I know here in the Texas Hill Country. Just tell me weird cop stories. Cops love to talk, and they'll talk your head off, and like, just tell me stuff that's happened, just to kind of spark. I always look for ideas or things that'll spark and think, oh, that might be a short story. Or I'm not really much of a short story writer, but that might be something down the road.
I love it when standalones turn into series. We have no intentions of writing any more books in this book, and all of a sudden we've got all kinds of ideas to keep it going.
This was a clear beginning, middle, and end. And I've written some pieces where it's like a question mark ending, but this one really, to me, was a beginning, middle, and end. And I thought, yeah, all right, this story really turned out great. I was happy with it. And it's the reviews that I'm getting, and I find that fascinating, is people that don't know me from anybody who are reading that material and the things that they're picking up from it. And I love that this is a character that more than a few people have said, they're looking into my other work to see if she's popped up anywhere else. And I'm like, no, but now I think she will, because she was a great character to write. I loved her.
We got to give our readers what they want. Keep them happy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, another question. You might have answered this earlier, but I want to pop it up. Judy is asking, how long have you been writing?
I took it seriously in my 30s, I guess. I'm 56, so I'm getting up there. But I think, I decided to try to see if I could write a screenplay, and I trial and error and just learned how to do it, and then started sending it off to competitions. I was literally in Maryland in the middle of nowhere, so nobody was going to pay attention to anything I was doing. So I figured competitions were a great way to even the playing field. And I started hitting some competitions. And honestly, Austin was one of the first writing competitions I placed, like second round, which was top 12% or something. It wasn't great, but it was the first hit I had ever gotten for something I wrote. And I went to Austin and fell in love with the town and moved there. So sometimes writing can really alter your life in ways that are unexpected. But Yeah, I mean, I've been writing now, I guess, 25 years, about 25
Wow.
years.
You've got quite the career. You've got quite the career behind you.
Well, screenplays, I've jumped. I did 2 documentaries in the Caribbean, which was amazing. I would go through periods where like LA cratered. Hollywood is full of dead ends and false starts and fool's gold. It is tough to make a go there. And I just got tired of it. And so I put everything away and thought, well, that chapter of my life is done. And then I ended up going to Jamaica to do a documentary, and then Trinidad to do a documentary. And then it was like, well, let me see if I can write a book. And then took an old script and turned it into my first novel, which I still think is a really solid piece called Roll the Die. And then I found my way to audio productions, which is like old time radio drama. I have a website called Audible Parade Productions, and it's like a combination of old time radio stories using modern technology to get it out to an audience. It's a movie for your mind. So I work with actors and add in music and sound effects and background noise to create this whole production instead of just a voice reading to you. It's actors acting it out, and I just have so much fun doing them.
Yeah, I checked out your website. It's really fascinating.
It's another way to get material out to an audience. Yeah. And I think I've never been like, even if I get frustrated or hit walls or dead ends, I'm always like, there's got to be, there's always something else, another way to get work out. And that's why I think I'm going to do this forever, because I enjoy it. And I enjoy,
doing what you do. Well, you have a variety. You're not just an author. You do screenplays, you do audio, you write novels. So you have a variety. Yeah. And if you get burned out on one field, which I doubt you'll ever do because you sound so enthusiastic, you can just go to another.
That's the spice of life, honestly. It makes it exciting. And I like working with other creative people. I find that fascinating. And I know my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm honest about that. Like, I do this well, but I'm really lousy at this. So let me find somebody who's a good candidate or editor. I love that, And
you did the audio for Stephen King. One of his
Yeah, I got picked to be a dollar baby, which blew me away. That was like a golden ticket. I felt like Willie. It was amazing.
And when I got that call, was One for the Road.
One for the Road, and it was how it works is. I heard about this when I was a kid, the Dollar Baby program. Had no idea how to do it, and then stumbled upon some article that said, "Oh, here's where you go apply." And I thought, "Yeah, I'm going to try that." I mean, there's no way in hell I'm going to get this, but let me try it. And even the website said, "Don't follow these steps. Don't deviate from them. Don't expect to hear from us for 6 months or something. If you don't hear from them," I mean, it was basically kind of setting me up where I did it and said, "Well, that's never, that was it." And then the next week, I got a call from his secretary saying that they chose me to be a dollar baby, and I couldn't believe it. And they give you a list of his stories to pick from, and basically you option it for $1. And Night Shift was a book he wrote in the 70s, the first book my dad gave me, and I love that. It was a short story, Stephen King short story collection. It's how I connected with him. And the cool thing was I got to put my dad in the audio production. So he had given me that book. And then when we made it, I made him one of the people at the bar ordering a drink. So we brought him out to the studio and recorded him. And it was such a blast to do. And it was also the first sanctioned audio production. I said, COVID was hitting. And I said, look, I'm in Texas. It's like 100 degrees here. I can't do a Maine winter storm. It takes place in a storm in Maine in January. And I said, I'd love to do this in audio production. I just did this full-length audio production. Like 666 was a 5-episode series that's on Audible. And I said, I'd love to do it this way. And they said, yeah, you can do it that way. And I didn't even realize that, but we were the first sanctioned audio production. And then it won a bunch of awards around the world. So it was wild.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite things. Writing that, taking that short story and writing it into in this case, an audio script, which is like writing for the blind, if that makes sense. But you have to, because I don't have a narrator, so the actors have to convey the story. You as a listener need to really understand what's going on without a narrator telling you anything.
Exactly.
You have to really be able to follow it. But that was probably one of the biggest thrills of my life, to take that story and legally do anything I wanted with it. And I had so much respect for the work. I just beamed. I think for a year and a half, I didn't stop smiling.
I would too. What an honor too.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that one too. That was fascinating.
It's one of my top, wow. I still freak out.
It is a wow.
I still get blown away.
What year did that happen?
2012. 2021, I think. I was hitting competitions in 2021, 2022. Yeah. So a
And
couple of years ago.
Yeah. And it
But
puts a
it
smile on your
won.
face.
I mean, I won awards in Australia and Germany and like a bunch of audio festivals, film festivals invited us to it. It was wild. It really took a life of its own and found an audience in the festival circuit. And I was a kid in the candy store. I love that. Still one of my favorite productions. The actors were top notch. It's really only three main actors in that story, and I just got lucky with who I hired, and they just knocked it out of the park. And they would do we would do like a take, and it was so good, but I loved it. I had them do it again because I was just having so much fun that I'm like, I knew I had it as a director. I had what I needed to move on, but I'm like, guys, could you just do that again so I could just sit back and just listen to this because it's so
good.
I was like a kid. I'm still like a kid with it. Yeah, I loved it. It was a blast.
Well, that's awesome. What a great story. What a great story.
That was a lot
I'm
of
sure
fun.
you'll have many more in the future to talk about when it comes to.
You know, it's we're trying to do there's a script I wrote years ago that I've never turned into an audio production or a book. I feel like it should be a film, and we're trying to do a short kind of teaser trailer to then use that to see if I can generate the funding. And then Robert Rodriguez at South by Southwest, I worked on a couple. This is just a whole nother story, but I worked on some of his films as an extra or a stand-in. I'm in Machete Kills in a blue spandex full length suit. Like I'd never worn that at IBM, and I was shooting ray guns, and I'm in the trailer at the beginning, and I'm in the movie towards the end. You see me a lot. I'm like, I was a wealthy cult member to Mel Gibson's cult leader. I was a Sin City cop in Sin City, Dame to Kill For. I was Powers Booth's stand-in, Johnny Reno's stand-in on that film. I was so like low end stuff, but I loved going to Troublemaker Studios. And anytime they did anything, I said I was a motorball gambler in Alita Battle Angel. I was a highway patrolman in, I think, From Dusk Till Dawn, episode 2, but they cut my head off. But I bounce around. I know my walk, so I can tell it's me. I'm like, there I am on screen. So it was so much fun. And he put out at South by this year to people can invest in, and he's going to basically, you can pitch projects to him and invest in his next slate of action films. And I jumped on that and put a cash investment in that. And he, you know, I said, I can't wait for this. This is going to be awesome. And so maybe something will come from that. So there's always cool things generating and things happening. Yeah, I never run out of stuff.
No, you wear many hats.
You wear many hats. That way. I love it that way, honestly. It's a good time.
Okay, I got another question for you from, let me see, Lori. She's asking, are your characters based on real people or events?
Everything's fair game for a writer, sad to say. Yeah, I've used, I won't use it like, it won't be a complete carbon copy example, but I will take traits from people. I feel like that's fair game.
It is.
The detective that I wrote in the latest novel was really, there was an actress that I love to work with named Patricia Zamora out of San Antonio, and she's one of our audio actresses. She's like a chameleon in the mic, and I'll bring her in for different productions. And she just had a style about her that I kind of, in the back of my mind as I was writing the character, she's nothing like the character, but in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, if Patricia ever, and she ended up recording the audiobook, which was great.
Oh.
But, it was just, it wasn't like a, you know, it wasn't a carbon copy of her, but I did have Patricia in my mind when I was writing that character, of a strong, determined Hispanic woman, that kind of thing. So, no, I tend to like to make up characters and create characters, but there might be hints of people in them. Yeah,
touches.
My ex showed up in a couple ones, and there were a couple lines from that relationship. Yeah, so everything's fair game for a writer.
And I think we also put ourselves in our books too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know I've done that. That's kind of fun, I guess. But I also don't think, I think you have to be able to expand your palette a bit. And you know, you can always pull from real life, but if you're telling a story, you know, maybe, you know, I wrote a ghost story that, now I did have a weird thing that happened to me in the woods in Maryland. When I was fixing a house. It was me and a dog out there for 6 weeks. And I felt it was in Cascade, Maryland, which was close to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and everybody in that place had a ghost story. And it was like Manhattan Island for ghost stories because of the Civil War and all the death that had happened, unnatural death that happened out there. And I was in this empty house painting it, and even the dog was weirded out about this room. But it was this. So I remember this incident, and I thought, God, this might make a good ghost story down the line. And I turned that into a book that'll probably be coming out eventually.
Nice.
It'll be
Nice.
something down the road called Cascade, and that's the thing I'm working on next to kind of pull that together. But a lot of that is based on this weird thing that happened that I thought, hey, this could be. I always wanted a ghost story. This could be a good ghost story.
Really? I mean, you're such a busy guy with all of these talents that you have. You really are. How do you find time to sit down and just write? Like
I
writing
make I
Gun
make
Barrel
time.
Highway.
I make time. Gun Barrel Highway took a while. I guess I'm patient. I don't feel a need to rush through things. I'll take my time.
Mhm.
I'm the kind of writer when I'm in a burn, I'll take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. I always edit as I move. So
Okay.
I'll write, then I'll reread those pages and then clean up and then go a couple more pages forward.
Okay.
Uh, I don't worry too much about the end zone because I know I'll get there. I think I've always had a drive to get things done. I'm very determined, and I will see things through. Things don't fall off my radar very easy. If it takes me a while, the audio project I'm doing now called Parasite Zero, it was this idea I had that's morphed into this 4-hour monster production, and I'm already chopping it in half because it's just too long. And it's about 50 voice actors, and I'm like, this thing I've been working on forever. And we had to
50?
bump it because of Gun Barrel Highway, and the trailer is finally coming out, I think, for the first part next week. But we're still editing that and pulling that together, and that's Breaking Bad meets 28 Days Later. Kind of, it's my George Romero zombie, thing I always wanted to do, B movie, but I have fun with that. So it'll be a fun audio production, and I still have 2 more big recording sessions to do on that for part 2, and there's
Okay,
always plates spinning.
I want to back up a little bit. You say it's an audio production. Is this an audio production for a book?
Yeah, it's well, initially I thought it was going to be like I would do 666 was episodic. It was a podcast. So it was like 5 30-minute episodes that told that whole story. And I
Okay.
thought this was going to be that, but it became more of like, oh, this is like an audio book / instead of 1 reader, it's 50, 50 voices
You
and
have 50 different people reading this audio.
50 being actors in it. Basically, it'd be like a movie, but it's an audible movie.
That's quite a cast for an audio, and you all have to.
Yeah, people tell me I'm crazy, but I ended up working with a lot of. I mean, where I'm at in Central Texas, there's film actors, TV actors, theater actors. I love to work with. Theater actors are my favorite. Friends for people who just want to be a voice. Hey, can I be a pilot? Yeah, I need a pilot. Come on, or I need a guard 2 or something. Come on down to the studio and we'll throw you on the mic. I love doing that, and that's always a lot of fun. And this one, 666 was about 40 voice actors, I think.
Wow.
Parasite Zero will be about 50 voice actors.
And how long does it take? Number one, how many words is this novel, and how long does it take you to do a production for that book with 50 actors?
Yeah, this was a screenplay that, again, I abandoned years ago and then decided, hey, this might be a fun audio production after we did the Stephen King thing. And I thought, let me see if I can play with this. But I read the script and thought this needs to be expanded. I think what I discovered as a writer early on, I was writing everything as a script. And there were some ideas that I had that just weren't basically done in an hour and a half. They were bigger. And this was one of those that was clearly a bigger palette. And I break it down into chunks, just like doing a film. You have a scene shot list. I'll bring the actors out. There's a recording studio / alpaca farm that I work out of, that the guy's great. And the rates are really reasonable, and it's professional recording studio.
Oh,
and I bring the actors in, and the actors work in a circle, and they're all mic'd, and we basically do the script, do the scenes, and then myself and my sister edits this one with me, and we'll basically edit and then add in the music and sound effects and background noise, and it becomes a production. So I just like doing them on the side.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating.
They're really fun. It's like old time radio drama, but it's also another way. I'm a big proponent of finding ways to tell stories, and can I get stories out to an audience mainly because I found in Hollywood I was writing all this work that would only be seen by a production company or a few agents, and that's it. Right. And I started to think, geez, I'm going to die with a trunk full of stuff that nobody's ever read. There's got to be a way to get this out to people. And so I just looked for other avenues, and novels became one, and audio productions became another one. Yeah, and film, and I'm just open to kind of different aspects, different things.
Now, I'm jumping around on all your talent here, but with your screenplays, you write screenplays. You've done that for a long time. Are these all your original works, or do you also take other authors and do a screenplay for them too?
No, I've been out for jobs. There was a book I had a for Warner Brothers actually wanted me to do Man Plus. I didn't get the job, but I remember kind of writing it. They were like, we don't really like the book, but we want to set it in an island. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And they just kind of would have different things, different ways they wanted to bring that story to life, but nothing ever came from it. Yeah, all my screenplays are original ideas. I don't collaborate with anybody. I write on my own.
I just wondered how you, as yourself being a screenplay writer, how they take a full-size novel and they have to condense it into a screenplay. And I just was hoping to hear some stories of authors getting like irate because you cut out this part of the book.
You sacrifice your babies, I'm sure. Because if Gun Barrel Highway becomes a movie or something, they would hack it to pieces.
Yeah.
And but I also think they're different, separate mediums. There are stories that maybe work better as a movie, and there then are books that I love the like writing a script is very segmented. You basically are writing for people that don't read, to be frank. The more white on the page, the better. It's dialogue driven.
Yeah.
Novels allow you to really just kind of take your time and expand and play with the world. And as long as the reader keeps wanting to turn the page, you're doing it right. I don't think there's really, there's not a 3-act structure in a book. There should be some sort of structure, but I love the freedom to go. I mean, in Gun Barrel Highway, all of a sudden I kind of stopped the action and went and talked about a character's past and kind of caught up on that character. I love the ability in a book to jump time, where screenwriting for the most part is a very linear, straightforward story.
It's straight to the point. There's no fluff. I call it. There's just no fluff.
If a guy sits in the chair, it's a line of, but it could be a chair that was, shipped over from Russia that had diamonds in the leg. I mean, you can kind of, with a book, you can go all in it, but a script is, guy sits in the chair. That's it. That's all that they want to know. And there's separate mediums. And I'm a judge for the San Antonio Film Festival this year. And I'm fascinated with reading scripts, and you'll read writers who try to write screenplays, but it's just dense, heavy paragraphs with no dialogue and stuff. They don't understand the medium. It's a dialogue-driven medium, and it's also lean. Scripts have to be very, very lean.
They do, yeah.
And they have to be fast.
When I write, I use a lot of dialogue because I can give a lot to a reader just through dialogue. Yeah. Whether it be the conversation, whether it be the mood, whether it be the body language. I feel that dialogue gives a lot when you're writing a book. I really do. And I enjoy dialogue myself when I read a book. So you're right about the chunky paragraphs. For me, when I read a book, if the paragraph is too long, I'm finding my mind wandering. Give me some talk here. Give me some speech.
Well, it was funny because I had written, and this is where an editor comes in. I had written Gun Barrel Highway linear. And my editor said, look, it's taken too long to get to the car crash, which is really the inciting incident, which really sends the story off into the motion. And she's like, we got to see that up front. So I ended up, basically, my first chapter was really taken from the middle of, maybe chapter 4. And I took a big chunk of that and kind of moved it to the front and then did a bit of a time lapse. So you have the accident that happens, and then we kind of jump back like 59 minutes, in the past to get caught up. And they love that. And that was really an editor nod. So you as a writer, you have to be open to suggestions. And honestly, editors are there to make your work better. So it was a great nod. It was the right way to do it because people want to be caught, want to get into that story as fast as they can and keep their interest,
Exactly. You just got to keep them engaged. Okay. More questions? You ready for some more questions?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Here we go. We have one from Karen. Does your family read your books?
Yes, they do. My father and mother, they're probably my biggest fans. This was funny. Okay. I wrote it was a dark thriller called Roll the Die. And I wrote character chapters in there about the contestants that have to play this twisted version of Russian roulette in Las Vegas. And it's, 6 chambers of revolvers, 6 sides of a die. The player rolls a dice. The die face value dictates how many times the gun's pointed and fired at them. If they survive 3 rounds, they win. It's a weird, twisted game. And there was one chapter where I just let myself, the character was called Green Man, and it is just a repulsive. The guy's just a horrible, horrible person. And that they did it. It was turned into an audiobook, and my parents were listening to it on a trip. They take an Airstream and go across country. And I was like, oh, please don't listen to that chapter. Like, please just skip that chapter. And yeah, so I'll have things like that where it's like, oh, I really don't want you to read that, guys, or on that particular book at least, because that was a pretty dark thriller. But yeah, my parents are my biggest fans. They love my work. My sisters will push my work. Yeah, I have a close knit family.
I love the support. And Texas is huge. I'm just going to pop this up. But we have Angela Ashley here from Harlington, Texas. Is she near you? Is she near you?
Probably not. Everything in Texas takes about 10 hours to get anywhere. So it's to leave the state would take me. I mean, I'm closer to the Mexican border I'm close to San Antonio. So it's about 3.5 hours to the Mexican border. It's about 5 hours to Dallas. El Paso is probably another 5 hours. So it's a giant state. It's massive.
It's huge.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Harlington is.
Okay, I just want to pop that up in case.
Also, Texas is broken up into regions. Like I'm in the Hill Country, which is Central Texas. So I'm not sure if that's where that is.
Okay, all righty.
But hey, howdy.
And then Karen says, "What genres do you like to read?"
Right now, I'm big on Elmore Leonard. I mean, he passed away a few years ago, and I've been savoring his work. I love his just meat and potatoes way of writing. He just is I find master craftsmen make it look so easy, but there really is a skill set to make that story and that book seem so easy. But yeah, I'm a huge Elmore Leonard fan. I actually on eBay I found it was you can do anything you want or something, or you can be anything you want in life. Signed Elmore Leonard. It was some eBay thing that I got and framed on my desk when I wrote this book because I just was so excited to even have that. Yeah, right now I'm on a big Elmore Leonard kick. Richard Bachman, which was Stephen King's pseudonym. I collect Richard Bachman paperbacks and like first editions and stuff which is weird. It's a weird thing that I do, but I like Bachman books. I don't really collect a lot of books, but Bachman books I go and search them out and try to find them, the British versions and the American versions. I've got almost all of them. But it's an expensive hobby. They're pricey, the paperbacks, but Joe Lansdale's another writer I like, a Texas-based writer who I always love picking up his Hap and Leonard novels or just his Texas novels. I enjoy a great deal. But yeah, I'd say usually if I'm going on a plane or something, I throw an Elmore Leonard book in my suspense thrillers or crime thrillers, that type of thing. That's what I like right now.
Do you like to read paperbacks? Any Kindle books or anything like that?
I tried to Kindle for a while and actually kind of faded out. And I prefer an old paperback. I'll get paperbacks from eBay, paperbacks and half price book and videos. I like physical copies of things.
I do too. I try Kindle like you, but as soon as you just like wave your hand over the Kindle, it starts doing something. It's like
honestly, I feel that way even with streaming. I tend to buy like DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. I have property here in the Hill Country, and I've got a drive-in kind of outside where I have outdoor speakers and a big screen, and I camp out with my dog and have a chimney of fire. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And I can do that privately, quietly. It's really nice. Right. But I like physical copies of movies and 70s movies and stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm old school, big time. I'm
very old school. I still have my iPod. It still works. If it breaks, I'm gonna lose all my songs because I can't get the songs off of there. But I have my iPod that's probably 20 years old that I still listen to music on. So I burn CDs. I'm very old. I'm very I'm
old school. I mean, all this AI stuff is moving way too fast for me. It really is. But
no, I was always the technical. Like when new things would roll out, like I've got an iPhone 11, and that seems modern to me, but I guess they're already on 15 or 16 or something. I'm always very behind.
16.
Yeah,
I just got a 16 last week, but that was only because the phone I had was an iPhone 8 or 9.
Yeah, it just stays out,
updating my apps.
Yeah.
They no longer support it. It's like you are forced to buy a new phone, otherwise yours is eventually not going to work. And I hate that.
I still get Apple cards and then buy songs on iTunes and burn them to a CD. So it's just like I feel like I'm a caveman. My nieces and nephews don't understand me at all, but it works for me. I like it, so it's like I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with it. I really, this phone that I have is like it's smaller than me, and I don't like that feeling. I really don't. And then I just want to say hi to Lulu. She's my editor. So hey, Lulu. So she is here.
Oh, okay. Love editors.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was going to give any advice to people that are trying to write a book, I just have a friend in France who asked me if he could connect with an editor I worked with, and I sent him to Tammy. She's just brilliant. I think having your manuscript looked over at an editor is such a valuable. It's worth the investment. It's worth the money, and it only makes your work better. So, it was something I never really embraced. That now I would do commercials for editors. I love.
I mean, if you want your readers to come back and buy your next book,
yeah,
you know, you got to make sure it's you know, it's clean, pristine, and as you know, as clean as you can get it. And that's why we need our editors, right, Lulu? I got a question for you from Kathy. She's asking, where is your favorite place to write?
I like writing in a room with no windows and no distractions. I like to edit with as many distractions as possible. I edit to music because I want to see if I can break through all the noise. But when I write, it's a blank room. I prefer a room with no windows. Honestly, I want to be able to not necessarily close myself off in like an insulated, what is it, like a what am I thinking of? Like a, a complete room with no oxygen or something, but a deprivation tank or something. But just I like a room with no windows, no distractions, and I shut the internet off and I just work.
No music, no background music.
Not when I'm writing. No, when I'm writing, I can't. I prefer to just be with my thoughts and be with the pages, and then, but when I edit, yes, I do like music.
Okay, there you go. And then Barbara's here from Florida. We touched on this a little bit, but she went a little bit more into depth. She's asking, do your characters ever interrupt your meals, sleep, driving, conversations, etc.?
Yes. When I'm in the heat of a story, I'm about 65, 70% there. What I learned was honestly to carry around note cards and our hotel stationery, little books, and a pen, because I will stop in the middle of something and run off to go scribble some idea that's been floating around in my head. Or like, I solved that. My head is always at my pages. And so I started looking like a crazy man. So when I'm literally in the heat of something, I carry around a notebook with me all the time, but note cards, blank note cards, and a pen are my favorite thing in the world to have. I've got doctor's handwriting, but I can read it. But I will scribble stuff down. But yeah, I'm always kind of when I'm in a story, I have a hard time letting it go until I can get through it. Especially if I'm in a knot or something, like I can't figure something out or what's going to happen next. Or that's always a fun and frustrating place. But yes, I'm never far away from it.
How long did Gun Barrel Highway take you to write?
I wrote the first kind of half of it, and then life kind of got in the way. I remember I was moving in with my ex-girlfriend now, but we were moving in together, and that just kind of took priority. And then I was able to get into a headspace where I was back into it every day. Honestly, I think if I look back on it, I probably spent a year writing it. That includes editing it and getting it to shape. Then searching for a year, kind of, or months searching for a home, and then once I got the contract, a year for it to come out. So it was about a 3-year process from working to having it on published.
Wow. And you're currently working on your second published novel, or is it?
It's called On the Bayou. It's kind of like cops and robbers play cat and mouse in the swamps of Louisiana, kind of a 10 Little Indians kind of story. It was a self-published book that I loved, and nobody could care less about it. But I realized it needed some work, and so I took it off the market years ago and stripped it. And when I was thinking, what should my next book be, I thought, let me send this to my editor, and my first editor. And Tammy said, "Wow, your work's getting better." And I thought, I wrote that book a while ago, so that kind of made me laugh. But I would love for that to be professionally published. And then my senior editor literally just told me today she's got it, and give her a month and she'll get back to me. And I'm like, okay, no problem.
Oh,
I never rush people, or I'm always got other things going on, and I'm happy. I don't mind waiting. I understand everybody has lives, so I've never been one of those, it's got to happen now, or check in with people. Have you read it yet? Have you read it yet? I think that's the most annoying thing you can do. No. You have to let stuff go and work on other things is how I find I end up doing.
Perfect. Well, I hope it happens. I hope they publish it for you.
We'll see. If it doesn't, I'll try to find a home for it, because I thought it turned out really. It's one of my favorite pieces I've ever written, and so I'd love to see it find an audience. And it was fascinating. I tend to write about places that are unique in the world, and anything south of the I-10 in Louisiana is its own place in the world. The Cajun country and the swamps are just, you don't find that anywhere else. And Las Vegas is very unique. Texas in its own right is a unique place. There's not many places like Texas in the world. So I'm always drawn to very interesting, unique places. I tend to find that's something that's repeating in my work a lot.
So you tend to write about places you've been to or the state you live in? They say write about.
I've never lived in Louisiana. I was just fascinated with it. And I did a lot of research. I remember taking a trip and, just grabbing brochures and swap tours and things, but I didn't go on any of it. I just did a lot of research. I'll do a lot of research on projects, but I was always fascinated with the culture and the food and the language and the music. And I thought I've never encountered that. If you go to Louisiana, Southern Louisiana, not necessarily New Orleans, but Lafayette or Baton Rouge or Morgan City, you go to these places and it's just like, man, it's a whole different planet.
Different world. Yeah.
And I love that. And so that fascinated me more than, I'd never lived there other than I was drawn to it.
That's cool. I like that. I love that. I want to pop up this question. No question. A comment. Judy says, Sean, you are such an interesting man.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I love that. Okay, let me see. I just want to pop up some comments from readers that are saying you have had an interesting life.
I honestly, I grew up in the military and I think I never stopped moving, even though I wasn't, my parents were in the Army. My father was in the Army. My mother worked for government service. She worked for Health and Human Services and Homeland Security. So we moved all our life. And when I got to be 18, I kept doing that. And so life is still an adventure for me. I find it fascinating.
It sounds like it. It really sounds like it.
I love living life and exploring and doing new things. It still excites me more than anything.
Yeah, it sounds like you're living life to the fullest. You, like I said, wear so many different hats, not afraid to try anything new. Is there something you haven't done yet that you want to try or will try? Let's put it that way.
Oh, I'm sure. I was a lousy skier. It was more like wrestling than skiing. I hated it. I fell so many times. But I'll try things. Yeah, I'm always open to new things. And that's what fascinates me about a creative life is you never know where it's going to take you. I mean, I had no clue I was going to spend, a few months in Jamaica shooting a documentary on a learning center that gave kids a second chance at their education. And it was strictly from a vacation. And I met this family and I said, hey, we could do a short film that might shine a light on what you're doing. A picture speaks 1,000 words kind of thing. And maybe that would help fundraise and bring more money into the school. I had no idea how to do that. So I went and talked to documentary filmmakers and got a crew together, went to Jamaica. That led to a documentary in Trinidad that I still can't believe I got to do. And that was for the Prime Minister of Trinidad. They were building a financial center in Port of Spain, Trinidad. And I remember when I asked to come out and pitch for the job. And I left the meeting and I called my sister and I said, where the hell is Trinidad? Like, that's where I was starting. I had no idea where it was on the map. And I got the job, took a crew down there. We filmed it. Film tends to be either you have all the time in the world and no money, or all the money in the world and no time. And Trinidad money was no object, but I had to do it in 6 weeks. And I did it, or 9 weeks, I think, to do that whole project. And it screened at the Summit of Americas. They invited me out to the embassy in DC, the Trinidad and Tobago embassy, to show it there. But I remember being on that island with my cameraman. And he's like, how the hell did we get here? And I'm like, I don't know, man. So sometimes you just don't know where creative work will take you. And I've always been open. I think also going to an international school, the world is not scary to me. There are places that are scary I don't want to go. But I'm always open to the world and sure, I can go to Trinidad. Sure, I can go to Jamaica. Sure, I can go to DC. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I love that.
And you love talking to people. You love meeting people. And that opens up doors all the time.
My grandfather was a bartender. I stumbled my way. I came out of a relationship and I needed to shake my life up. And I came to buy a bottle of whiskey for my dad and came into this distillery and I had bartender training. I said, you guys are hiring bartenders? Like, yeah. And I said, I'd love to, can I apply? Got the job. I've been here a year. I love it. And it's, I make old fashions and rum punches and cocktails all day and get in the heat of the moment. And it's a lot of fun. It's just a fun environment to be in.
Yeah, you gave me a little tour of it before we went live with you.
Well, and I don't go to parties well, honestly. I go to a party like a NASCAR driver. I go round and around a circle and then get out of there before I crash and burn. Kind of that's how I go to parties. I hate it. But here I'm working and I'm always in the middle of something and I like that. And so I'll work a party here and it's so much fun. And so this has become a new thing. I guarantee there are regulars and characters that I meet at the bar who will find their way into work because they're such interesting people, So,
people. I love people watching. I love people watching.
And this is a great place to do it. And I didn't see that coming, but it's been a great kind of, this last year of my life, it has been a big rebuilding year and finding myself again and doing new things. And I'm excited about about life and the future, and things are pretty good lately. I got no complaints.
It's looking good. It really is. I want to just pop this up, going back to Louisiana. Dana, she says, in Louisiana, we have very good seafood and swamp tours. I'm about 30 miles.
Yeah, Lafayette's kind of the gateway to the Cajun country, and it is another world down there. It's amazing. I mean, and I think if you're going, you go the I-10 to go to New Orleans, get off the I-10 and go through the little towns, and it's absolutely fascinating. And yeah, the food is top notch, the music is top notch, the people are so warm and friendly. But it's a mix of French and Creole and American, and just all this. It's a gumbo in itself of everything. I found it fascinating, and so I dove in and wrote this book about that world, because it was one of those things that just I couldn't get enough of, and I wrote a book about it.
You are one fascinating man. You have so many stories to tell, and this hour has gone by really quick. We are going to be wrapping it up soon. But
oh wow, I didn't even realize that. That's awesome.
I know it goes by so quick. But when your next book comes out, I'd love to have you back.
Sure, I love this. I love this conversation.
But before we wrap it up, I asked this question to all the authors. You answered it a little bit earlier. What is one piece of advice you would give to a writer that would like to be a published author, other than finding a good editor and getting an edit?
Don't quit. And it's so easy to quit. It is so easy. I mean, I'm on a first name basis with failure. We get along fine. I don't mind failure at all. In fact, I think you learn more from failure than you do from success. Honestly, I've learned more from failure. I tell my nieces and nephews this: the worst thing you can do is not try. Now, that doesn't mean just, I'll send this thing out real fast that isn't ready. You have to do the work, and you have to have that. You get one shot, honestly. If people pay attention to you, I learned this in Hollywood. They're giving you one chance to impress them. And if you blow it, that's it. You're done.
You're done.
So you need to have your work ready and tight and ready to go. And it can't be, the second book is really going to tell the story, but you got to read the first book first. You can't do that. You've got to be able to catch their interest and learn from your mistakes. I think that's a really big thing, but continue trying, and don't rest on one piece of material. I think having a portfolio of material is really important for writers or creative people. And also don't worry about a time frame. You are in competition with yourself. That's it. Who cares what anybody else does? As long as you're honest and comfortable with yourself, I think that's the best advice I can really give anybody.
That's excellent advice. Excellent advice. I love it. Before we go, we do have a giveaway. So thank you for that. If you want to tell our audience what the giveaway is.
Yeah. Honestly, I can do a signed copy of my novel, paperback copy. I'm no problem with that. And also the audiobook and Kindle. So we could do two giveaways if you'd like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We'll do a paperback and also the audiobook and Kindle. I'll package that into one. So we could do two of those. I'm cool with that.
Okay, audiobook and Kindle as the second prize?
Yeah, I think so. I can do that. That's no big. I've got through Audible, and I've got codes through Audible, and I've got the advanced review copies of my book on Kindle if people would either EPUB or PDF versions, and then or a paperback.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Sean. I will leave this open for a couple of hours. When the winner's picked, I will go ahead and tag you or message you. Sure. With the winners and the address, if that's okay. No, and I'm also doing my regular giveaway readers, which is the $5 Amazon gift card. What you need to do is share this video from my author page on Facebook, share it to your favorite groups, your favorite places on the internet, and tag me. So I know that you shared it, and you'll be entered into the $5 Amazon gift card. Sean, this has been a delight.
This has been a fantastic time. It actually went by so fast. I had no idea. It was a long day, and this was a great capper for it. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you. And I hope to have you back in the future when that next book is published.
I look forward to it.
All right. Everybody have a great night. And I will see you back in the group when I announce the winners. Good night, everybody.